Mastering electronic dance music.
Hey, this is Armando Montanez. Welcome to the first episode of Mastering EDM with Logic Pro. Now, this is going to be a series from start to finish, which means that I'm assuming that you have not used Logic Pro, or maybe you haven't even bought it yet. So this is a great series if you're looking into Logic Pro and you want to know if it's worth the money, because for a lot of starting people that are just getting started with all this audio stuff, spending $200 for a piece of software is kind of a big commitment. So my suggestion is, if you don't have it yet, before you get committed to Logic Pro, you should probably just watch through some of this or some other tutorials involving Logic Pro, so you get more of the hang of it and you know if it's right for you, or if you should go for a different digital audio workstation, or if you maybe don't even want to go into it at all because you just realize it's so much more complicated than I thought, or something like that. So anyway, this is going to be a series, as I said. This first part is going to be 5 10-minute episodes, and they'll be covering introducing Logic Pro X. So we'll be talking mostly about Logic Pro X and its features, its functions, getting around it, and everything like that. Following that, we'll have a series that get more into the details about creating a song, mixing a song, and everything like that. That is more transferable to other software that you could, if you watch those, then you could take the concepts and just apply them in pretty much any digital audio workstation. So, but for now, this is going to be episode 1, and I'm going to get you, acquainted to Logic Pro X, and we'll just go over the basic interface. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop open Logic Pro X, and we'll be greeted by the startup splash, which is that, followed by the create new project dialog. It'll typically pop up with new project there instead of recent. Now, quite frankly, I don't like the look of this, but I'll go over later how you could change it so you could have something else, or make it more convenient for you if you rarely use these presets. So for the sake of going through the various windows of Logic Pro X and everything that has, we're going to start off with the electronic preset. And it's actually the first time I've opened this. I used it in Logic Pro 9, but I haven't used it in Logic Pro 10 yet. So right now, off the bat, we're greeted with a pile of stuff that really is confusing. So I'm going to cut this down and make it so you have the bare minimum of what Logic really is. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the library, and then I am going to pull up this shade here, so it's out of the way, and then I am going to double click on controls to get rid of that controls thing. Okay, that didn't do it. Whatever, just pull it down. That worked. Okay, so this is the bare bones of Logic Pro, and essentially you'll be working with this most of the time. This window, you'll use the other windows occasionally, but for the most part, this is what you're going to be just fall in love with and learn to work with, work in, work around, and just be friends with for the majority of your time. Now, I could separate this into 2 main parts here. We have the arrange window. I believe it was called something else with the update to Logic Pro X, but quite frankly, I'm going to call it arrange because that's what I'm used to. So, and then we have the channel strip, which is right here. And this second one to the right, which looks similar but not exactly the same, is the master channel strip, and we'll go over that later and when we go into details of that. So this is really where all of the stuff gets worked out. Now, to go over the basics here, we have each one of these is an instrument of some sort, and they each can have their own, they can play their own musical part, and then you could edit them separately. So as you can see, when I click each one, the channel strip right here changes depending on which one I have selected. So that's very simple there. We'll go into more detail about that in following episodes, but for now we're just going to keep to going over the windows. Now I'm going to open back up the library, and this is the window that I closed at first because it was really in the way of a lot. If I pop up in the library, I get this new folder view sort of thing that I could go through a variety of presets and change what this track is. So by selecting, I don't know, a new drum machine, you could see that the name changed. And actually, if we go into the folder here, what we have is the individual parts will also change. So long story short, this is basically presets. So a collection of settings or layers and stuff like that that can be switched with a click of the button. So you could go through a variety of these. You know, you could select bass. Okay, I want a bass. Give me a fingerstyle bass. And then what it'll do is it'll change this to a fingerstyle bass with a lot of things already set up for you, so you could just get started. And this is useful for when you're just getting started out and you want to figure out how you could get each sound. But later on, you'll find that you actually don't use this much because unless you create your own personalized presets, you'll find that the pre-made presets are kind of something that's they're more distracting than they are helpful sometimes. So I'm going to close that up right now, and I'm not going to really talk about these for the most part because unless you're using them, you're creating presets and then you're using those presets, this isn't really that helpful of a tool when you get down the road and you've gotten really used to Logic. So I won't talk too much about that. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just click, when you select the track, you just click whatever preset you want and go down to whatever folder and just choose one of the options. So I'm going to close that again by clicking Library. And then I'm going to bring up one of the other very important aspects, which is your browser. Okay. So right here we have our project files. There's nothing in here because we haven't added any files to the project. So if we click media, this is media that is built into Logic or that you have added to iTunes and stuff. And it's just a convenient way to store that. So if I go down Logic projects, okay, so there's nothing really here because I haven't added much. That's because I personally browse files using the all files. So when you click all files, you just have a browser. It starts in your music folder typically, and then you could go down to whatever folder you have audio in, and you could start bringing in sounds and putting them in your workspace, which looks a bit like this. I just drag it in. Notice how when I put it over these instrument tracks, it says these are not audio tracks. They are instrument tracks. They're virtual instrument tracks, so you cannot put audio in them. So I'm going to put this down here and to create a new track. Oh, this added audio file has tempo information. That's not that relevant right now because it's just a sample, so I'm not going to import that. Now I have a kick drum, and you could see this is what things will start to look like as you work in Logic. You have a region, and this region is, if we zoom in using these, in the next part of the series here, I'm going to talk more about learning to work your way around Logic. So that'll be more about getting in and navigating like what I'm doing right now. So anyway, right here I have a kick drum. And throughout this area, it plays that audio file. So if I were to cut this in half, so I'll split by playhead and then delete that, then it would only play this part of the audio file because that's how much region is. Drag it back out. And so that's what regions are for audio files. And then later on, when we get into more detail about what you can do with audio files, we'll get more into the features and functions, and other than copying and pasting and moving it around to the right time, what you can do with those. So with virtual instruments, it's similar. You have a MIDI region. So if I right click here, or what is it? I think it's command click or something. I don't know for you Mac keyboard people. I have a Windows keyboard with my Mac just because I'm too lazy to buy a Mac keyboard. So anyway, create empty MIDI region. And then you have something similar. So what it will do is it will play all the notes in this region. There are no notes in it right now. And to put notes in it, I'm going to bring up one of the other parts that's a major part. So I'm going to close this media or browser pane here. And I'm going to double click this to pop up the piano roll. The piano roll is a very, very, very important thing for when you are keying in basically all the music for your electronic instruments. So each key here has a it's a grid. So this is a time. If you see, my playhead moves again. So if I put in a note here, create note, then I have a note here that is played the instant I click play. Now if I create a different note, different key, it's saying it's played at that time as soon as the playhead reaches it, and it plays that key. So basically, it's like musical notation, which you could see in score, except instead of lined up to as a score is, it's lined up differently. It's lined up to a piano keyboard. It makes things slightly easier for those of us that can't read music, which is, me. Yeah, sorry. So this is one of the really important parts for really using Logic Pro for creating electronic music. In other styles of music, you use it less, but that one is going to be very important. So this can be brought up by double clicking a MIDI region, and closed by either dragging down as you just saw me do, or you could double click again and then it closes it. So now we're going to go into the probably the final part to talk about today, since we only got a short amount of time here, and that's going to be the transport. So this is our rewind, fast forward, stop, and play and record buttons. These they are useful, but there are keyboard shortcuts for them. So I'm going to, I could click play here, and then it plays what we have keyed in here, along with the kick drum that we actually put in earlier. So I'm going to bring this back by hitting enter. That would be the same as if I had stopped it and then clicked this button, go to beginning. Enter returns you to the previous point. Now actually, since we have a loop running right here, which is this yellow strip, which you could enable or disable by clicking that. I'll talk about that later, and using those effectively and setting them up. But for now, I just want to say that when you have a loop, it can return you to the loop instead, the beginning of the loop instead of the beginning of your project by hitting enter. So keep that in mind. Right now, since the beginning of the loop is at the beginning of the project, it returns us to the same point. So up here, there's a variety of other advanced tools that we're not going to go into too much. Actually, they're not exactly advanced, but when you're starting out, they can get confusing because there's a variety of editors like Flex Time, and we could get into the mixer, but that just looks overwhelming right now. Later on, you'll notice that you'll start to realize that this mixer is really just a wide view of all the smaller components you've been working on. So I pretty much run out of time here, so we're going to end up this lecture, and the next one we're going to talk more about we're going to talk more about the simple tools and getting around Logic. So I'm going to talk to you about basically what I said, the loop, and then a variety of other small things. So until then, what do you YouTubers do? I guess you subscribe. So yeah, go ahead and subscribe until then. So, and if you like this video, then go ahead and like it. And if you don't, then like it anyway, because someone else might like it. And also feel free to tell anybody that is also interested about starting with writing their own electronic music. Tell them about this, because they might be interested too. So this series is going to be powered by comments and likes and the sort. So the more of those I have, the faster I'll be putting up new videos. So I hope you guys like this, and I hope that this can be a nice long series with everything that you'll need for the foreseeable future.